we can't possess our promise and go into the promised land if we're still stuck to slavery in Egypt. Look, I think that there is a spirit of offense that we've allowed to fester in our nation. The reality is that offenses create fences. Our offenses have allowed fences to be established in our nation. It's allowed offenses to be established in our heart, fences of division that have been created by the different offenses that we've harbored, whether it be political offenses, whether it be personal offenses of things people have done towards us. Biblically, on the Hebrew calendar, this is a year to possess our promise, a season to possess our promise. But the reality is that we can't possess our promise and go into the promised land if we're still stuck to slavery in Egypt. And the Hebrew word for Egypt is Mitzrayim. It means a place of confinement or restriction. And our unforgiveness, our bitterness, our offenses literally become a Egypt that enslaves us, traps us, limits us when we're called to be limitless. And the reality is, it's kind of like, I'll never forget, one time I heard how sometimes they capture monkeys and they take a banana and they put it in a trap, and the monkey takes its hand and it sticks it in the trap. And all it has to do is let go of the banana so it can take out its hand, but it so wants the banana and it can't let the banana go that it winds up getting caught because it's holding on and just won't let go.
Come on.
And I feel like we all have our bananas. Right? We all have those things that we're holding on to, but they're trapping us.
Yeah.
And we have to be willing to let go. And ultimately, if you don't let go of your banana, it will drive you bananas. Like, it will literally emotionally, physically, spiritually make you sick and drive you crazy on some level. And one of the keys to breaking that offense, that spirit of offense, is thanksgiving. I'm reminded by what the apostle and Rabbi Paul wrote in 1 Thessalonians 5. He says, be joyful always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God for your life in Messiah Jesus. So that's key. Joyful, prayerful, thankful. And it says thankful not when things are good, just good. Right? Not on the mountain. It says thankful in all circumstances. And that's the key. Because, one of the key verses for Thanksgiving is Psalm 136 in Hebrew, Hodu l'Adonai ki tov ki le'olam chazdo. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His kindness endures forever. The Hebrew word for thanks is hodu. And it comes from the Hebrew word yada, which means to praise or to thank. And what's interesting is that Jesus, Yeshua, his Hebrew name, is from the tribe of Judah. He's literally from the tribe of praise, or from the tribe of thanksgiving. And what that means is that thanksgiving and praise is in our DNA.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it's incumbent upon us to bless and thank God for things that are good. But here's the hard part, for things that are not so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is the thing. It's like Job, when he loses everything, his children die, his wealth is taken away, his wife says, curse God and die. But Job's response is, the Lord gives, the Lord takes away, blessed be the name of the Lord. I mean, it's kind of like mind-blowing. Like, how can Job do literally what Paul later says in the New Testament after suffering so much unimaginable loss and pain, still give thanks to God despite it all? And there's something interesting, and it pertains to women. You know, Jewish people read through the 5 books of Moses every year, from Genesis to Deuteronomy. And last week we read about the life of Sarah, Genesis 23. And it says that Sarah lived 127 years, the years of Sarah's life. And it seems redundant. Sarah lived 127 years. Then it says the years of Sarah's life. All you have to say is she just lived 127 years. It there's nothing. I mean, you don't need to add the years of Sarah's life. Of course, if she lived 127 years, that's the years of Sarah's life. It doesn't even need to say it. So there's something else that is being said there, because if words are in the Bible, they're not wasted. They're there for a reason. And the Jewish tradition, the rabbis say what that second clause means is that the years of Sarah's life, the reason why it says it again, is that all her years were equal in goodness. Well, I mean, you guys, did Sarah go through some tough things? All of the years of her life on the surface are not equal in goodness. So how is it possible that it was said of her, or that she thought of her life, it was all equal in goodness? It's the same thing as how could Job say, blessed be the name of the Lord, you know, who gives and takes. It's what Paul says, be thankful in all circumstances. And it teaches us about our attitude and our actions, not only when we experience the joys of life, but also the oys. We'll have the joys, but we'll have the oys, which is the hardships of life. How is it possible for Sarah? How is it possible for Job? How is it possible for the Apostle Paul to say this, see them equally good? Because they saw them as part of a greater plan. Right? God works all things out for good for those who love him and who are called according to his purpose. It's like Joseph in Egypt, who's falsely accused, stripped of his tunic, thrown into prison, you know, falsely accused in Pharaoh's house, forgotten about in the prison, has to languish there. And then ultimately he has dreams like Falaka. He's a dreamer, and God elevates him to the most significant position in Egypt next to Pharaoh. He saves his brothers, the 12 tribes of Israel, the Jewish people. And he turns his brother and says, listen, what you meant for evil, God meant for good. And here's what's crazy. He has 2 sons. And you know, do you guys remember the names of his sons? Manasseh and Ephraim. Manasseh is his older son, which means I've forgotten the pain of my past. Ephraim means double fruitfulness.
Yes.
Do you see the lesson? Listen, until you're willing to forgive and forget, you'll never be fruitful.
Come on.
Unforgiveness bitters the fruit at the root. Unforgiveness bitters the fruit at the root. So Sarah didn't become bitter. Joseph didn't become bitter because he could see what others usually can't see, which is God is in it from beginning to end. If he wasn't sold by his brothers, if he wasn't falsely accused, if all these things didn't happen, which at the time it's easy to think, it's easy to complain, get bitter, get upset, it wasn't right. But yet all those things, if they didn't happen, wouldn't have positioned him for the promotion to be put in the place to save his brothers and to save Egypt as well.